We see a lot of opportunity coming up in this space, particularly for ADUs, which is accessory dwelling units. A lot of zoning regulations is being adapted now in a lot of municipalities across the country, where they're allowing for an ADU to be a legal part of a single residence zone. So meaning if you have an old home that has a large basement or a large attic and you convert it to an apartment or garage, or even putting a small structure in your backyard, as long as it qualifies zoning wise, to be used legally as a second dwelling where you can rent it out or bring the in-laws in or whoever you're looking for.
Good day, good people. Welcome to another 203K Tuesday. I'm your host, Aaron, the house person, and this is the place you come to find out everything you don't know about the 203K loan, learn the process, and then we walk you through that process from start to finish, ultimately helping you be able to create, build, and sustain generational wealth. So today we have a rock star with us. We have what I call that power forward, that forward position in your 203K starting lineup, which is the contractor. All right. So I'm going to bring him in. It's Guy Neumann with GN Construction up in Connecticut. So let me bring in Guy and we will go from there. Guy, how we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Oh man, I'm fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for asking, and thank you for being here. So like I said, this is a platform where we're introducing the people who are actively helping folks navigate the 203K process, and you have been identified as one of those people. So what I like to do, a lot of times people will ask certain questions and things of that nature that is that introductory kind of thing, but I like to jump right into the 10 questions, and then from there we'll go ahead and talk more about you, your business, and just anything else real estate related. That's cool?
You got it. Let's go.
All right, good. So very first question, do you know the 203K process, and have you worked with this loan before?
Yes. The answer to your question is yes, all the way around. We've done a lot of 203K loans, home style loans, construction loans. We present ourselves as specialists in the space. We have admin processes to support the heavier administrative load that these loans present. We also have the capital to support these loans, which is important.
That is important. That is important. Okay.
So, yeah, quite a bit of it.
Quite a bit. All right. So are you licensed and bonded in the state that you're in? And what states would those be?
So we're fully licensed and insured in the state of Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Okay.
We are bondable. We don't just have bonding. Bonding is based on a project. So if a project requires it, which a lot of commercial projects require, and municipality and government type projects would require it, we can bring bonding to the table. But our insurance is, covers all our needs, especially for residential. We do commercial work as well. So our insurance aligns with commercial needs 4 or 5 times what a residential need would normally require.
Okay. So it sounds like you guys got it covered, especially residential, since you're doing commercial. So no problem at all.
No problem.
Good deal. Good deal. And if you see me looking down, like I tell folks all the time, you gotta take notes.
Going on. It's okay. It's all right.
Gotta take notes, because so you never know. You might hear something that you need to ask a question about, or just something that wow, okay, didn't know that. So gotta take those notes. All right. Now, as far as like additional credentials, certification, anything like that, do you possess anything that jumps out there? Anything that you can mention?
Not really. I mean, we are lead certified. We're active in the space on a few different levels, but I don't have any other credentials. I'm outside of my licenses, which are the major licenses in both Connecticut and Massachusetts. And Massachusetts is one of those states that drives the building code in the United States. There's about 5 states to do so. Mass is one of them. So to get a unrestricted supervisor's license in Massachusetts is sort of like getting a Series 6 or a Series 7 in financials. It's quite a process.
Okay.
Where in Connecticut, you just file an application and you're now a contractor, right? So.
Okay. So 1 of 5 states, and you're in. Okay, in Massachusetts. Okay. All right. Now that's heavy. That's big. Any type of professional organizations, anything like that?
No.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, the land certified.
I'm a commissioner of planning and zoning in the city of Hartford. We're very involved in the community, right? In general.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit of charitable work that GN Construction is involved with, and myself, and community work. So we believe in being a part of the community is an important part of our business. So I don't have any fancy letters behind my name or accreditation. I don't belong to any real estate organizations or anything along those lines, but we're certainly involved in the city of Hartford.
So it's funny because, on one side you say no, but then you throw in something that you do.
Well, but it's not. I don't know if you're. Yeah. No. Well, I'm not holding back on you. It's just it wasn't really necessarily an answer to your question, but I'll give you the best I got, which is that.
No, completely understandable. I mean, professional organizations are good to tie into, but being a commissioner in zoning, like that's a big deal because what that does for people who don't know is you can help people understand like maximum use for a property. So if you see a single family home in an area that's zoned for multi, well, hey, that house right there, that is a house that you can use in a different light. You can maximize that and make that a multi-unit to fit into the area that it's already in and zoned for. So, but a lot of people don't know that. So, being a commissioner is that.
We see a lot of opportunity coming up in this space, particularly for ADUs, which is accessory dwelling units. A lot of zoning regulations is being adapted now in a lot of municipalities across the country, where they're allowing for an ADU to be a legal part of a single residence zone. So meaning if you have an old home that has a large basement or a large attic and you convert it to an apartment or garage, or even putting a small structure in your backyard as long as it qualifies zoning wise to be used legally as a second dwelling where you can rent it out or bring the in-laws in or whoever you're looking for. We're seeing that going across the country, but now in our area in Connecticut, that's becoming a hot topic. And we are seeing people building small little 1,000 square foot additions that are on their own as a result of these regulations. And, it'll definitely appreciate the property value. And then that's where these loans come in, when there is an ability to leverage the appreciation and the value of the home and then pull out construction money and turn it all into a mortgage where you pay over the course of 30 years, if you'd like.
100%. Okay. So how long have you been in business and running your own crew?
GN Construction has been alive for 10 years.
All right, 10 years. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Magic 10. That's good. Now, what would you say is the most complicated? So I know you've done various types of construction, commercial, residential. But what would you say is the most complicated 203K that you've completed?
We work on some old homes. We got, aging inventory here in Connecticut. So it's really complicated to open up and carve out old homes, reconfigure them. Old homes were built with needs that met the population 100 years ago, 70 years ago, 60 years ago. Those needs and stylistically have changed dramatically, especially now everybody wants an open layout and a great room and things like this. And you just don't see that in older homes. So we take pride in taking challenging project on where, we have to open it up and reconfigure and work in some really old homes. And a lot of old homes actually require some kind of a 203K because they don't qualify for FHA lending. There's some issues in the house like lead-based paint, or they're not a turnkey system that an FHA lender would be looking for. So we've been involved in some pretty complicated 203Ks. In fact, we're wrapping one up now, and the supply chain issues is what's holding us back. We're waiting on some electrical meters to come in, but it is a 1,720 house in Portland, Connecticut, and 1,720, and we had to side it. We had to essentially add support for the entire basement. The basement is a dirt floor basement, and it's still a stone foundation, and the house needed a bunch of extra support. So we beamed the basement and added a bunch of lolly columns with the proper footings and things like this. And that's not a simple project.
No, 1720. That house has some years on it. Wow. So I'm excited to see the finished product. So I want to see the before and afters on that one, because wow, 1720. I mean, that's like an original. that's going way back. Okay. Wow. Man, that's an old one. That's an old one. I think that might be the oldest I've heard anyone mention being worked on. So man, okay. So what so you got to support the basement, and not to go on a tangent, but what are the plans for that particular property?
Well, I mean, they made a 2-family out of it. So it's a side-by-side 2-family home. Young family bought, and they're living as residents in one of the sides, and then they're renting out the other side. When they bought the house, it had some foundation issues, some structural issues in the basement. Then FHA buyers, by default, they had to rectify that in order to buy the home. And then in addition to that, we added siding, we replaced some of the windows. So the rest of the stuff was pretty basic. But the work that was done in the basement, including the replacement of a boiler and an oil tank, all became part of the 203K. And they're able to do that. We put a driveway in, new siding, a bunch of new windows, did some work to the baseboard inside, a new heating unit, and then some electrical upgrades as well.
So was the house already split side by side, or?
Yeah, okay. 2-family house, side by side.
Okay.
In Portland, Connecticut is a really historic type of town with a lot of old inventory and some really cool homes. This one is one of them. It's a small little town off the Connecticut River, very close to a city called Middletown here in Connecticut. And we got the contract and ran with it, and now waiting for materials to come in to be able to finish the project.
Yeah, that's been a challenge across the board. This supply chain disruption, and then of course the increase in price due to the disruption. It's been rough. It's been rough. So be glad to get some sense of normalcy returning. Hopefully sooner than later. This spring would be very nice, but we just gotta wait and see. Doesn't look. We'll see. We'll see.
Especially what the definition of normal is.
Right. All right. So as far as building permits and things of that nature, rough estimate, how many would you say you've pulled over time? I mean, just I know 10 years, that's a lot.
I mean, we do over 100 projects a year. So, they're all in various sizes and scope, but most of our projects require a permit. And we've pulled hundreds, if not over 1,000 permits in the last 10 years for sure.
Yes. Okay. And the reason I asked that question for you folks out here watching is because that lets you know if the contractor knows what they're doing. Like if you've gone to the permit office multiple times, thousands of times, right? Chances are you know how to fill out the paperwork. Chances are you know some folks down there who are familiar with you, and they know what to expect from you, and so forth and so on. So
especially in our area. And then the reality is that when the 203K market really was born out of the recession of 08 till 10, and the fallout with all the foreclosed properties that came as a result of the real estate crash. That's when we started seeing the opportunity for 203Ks, because you had all these depressed properties sold as is, and then 203K, which was available beforehand, but not as popular up until that period. So in the beginning, the banks didn't even have systems for permits, right? They just basically issued the loans, and then the contractors went in and did the work, right? And there's two different kinds of 203Ks. There's a streamline and a full 203K. So especially in a streamline level, where the work not necessarily have to have a permit because it's cosmetic, it's non-structural, and it's under $35,000, right? So the reality is that there wasn't really any governance or any supervision on the permit side of the equation. Now, any 203K we work with, for us to essentially get paid the first draw, you would have to essentially provide records of the permits being pulled in conjunction with the job. Without the permits, you don't get paid. And then without the CO, certificate of occupancy, or a final inspection sign off from the town or municipality you're working in, you don't get your 10% holdback or the final check. So that now has become an integral part of the 203K process.
So some checks and balances to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do, doing it the right way. Yeah, the loan definitely has gone through quite a few different layers of transition, and in attempts to improve it and hold people accountable, make sure people aren't getting taken advantage of, all types of things like that. So it can be a little messy sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you're doing the right thing, you should be fine. So and with thousands of permits pulled, I think you guys are doing it the right way. So good job. So are you currently working on any 203K projects?
So I have that one in Portland that that is still active.
Okay.
And we are in the process of starting a couple of projects with construction loans, not necessarily 203Ks, but for more established homes. A lot of people are looking to stay in their home as a result of the craziness that the real estate market is producing now, and they're adding to their home. They're embarking on major renovation projects. I define a major renovation project in a single family home to be over $200,000, and we're taking on projects that are $200,000 to $800,000 in a single home renovation.
Wow.
So, and then in construction loans, they work basically the same as a 203K loan. But with the exception, a lot of the home construction loans, the money goes to the borrower, and then the borrower pays us our draws, as opposed to in a 203K, the bank sends us the money directly. So we're protected in that sense, but the borrower still has to sign off on it.
Man, so $800,000 addition. So the values up there, you guys got some serious price property.
It depends. Property all across the country is rising pretty quickly because of the shortage in supply. But when you start seeing property values in a 200 plus per square foot range, then building becomes much more financially feasible, because you're building generally in that range right now anyway. So the value of the home is protected by the value of the investment if you're adding square footage. So it makes for an easier transition to say, I'm going to put $200,000 into my home and add 1,000 square foot addition, where before your homes are worth $150 a square foot. So you're already 50,000 in the red in that scenario, right? So if it's 1,000 square feet at $150 a square foot, that's $150,000 renovation. And now that renovation costs you $200,000, but the home value increases by $200,000. And the rest is quality of life.
Yes.
People don't put
enough prices.
Yeah, but people have a hard time pricing that. They don't have a hard time pricing a new car, and whether they, why they got their Benz versus their Kia, whatever it is that they're driving, right? They don't have a problem substantiating having a nicer car to drive from point A to point B. But if you ask them to add an extra $10,000 to their bathroom renovation, they have a hard time doing that for whatever reason. But it's an investment, but at the end of the day, you're going to use it for the next 10 years and you're going to enjoy it every time you use it. Put a value on that, right? So
makes sense. Yep. Yep. So do you have, if someone were to reach out to you, you have the financial capacity to take on more 203K jobs right now?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're very strong in that side of the equation.
Mhm.
We're strong in a few different areas, but that's one of the areas that we're strong at. So, there's all these horror stories of contractors, finishing on Thursday, looking to get paid Thursday at 6 o'clock at night, knocking on your door and so on. The 203K process is a stressful process. For those of you that are not familiar with the process, it involves us essentially initiating the construction on our dime and then reaching a benchmark when a draw can be requested based on work completed. So, and that process involves bringing a third party in to inspect the work that we did. And that third party becomes a communicator between us and the bank issuing the payment. So they have to coordinate that communication and all the sign-offs have to happen. And then the bank essentially issues the money. And now if the bank doesn't have the right systems, or the HUD consultant, which is that third party intermediary, doesn't have the system, from the time we request a draw to the time we get paid could be several weeks. And that's in general terms. So in the meantime, the progress has already progressed several weeks from the point that we were ready for a draw. So a lot of times we actually have more money into the home during the construction process of a 203K than the people buying the home will ever have. And that's the truth. So we've done a couple of 203Ks that are in the $300,000-$400,000 range. So if you take that into 6 or 7 draws and you divide that by the 300,000-400,000, I got 60 to 80 grand into the house before I see $1.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that work for me, they're not waiting months to get paid. Neither are my subs or my vendors or my suppliers. So we have to essentially maintain good business practices with all of them while pleasing the client, who have more money into the house than they do at any given time, and working with the HUD consultant. So you have to have the proper capital. And very frankly, we charge accordingly for this loan. You're not going to get price breaks on a 203K. You're going to get an honest value and an honest price that will get the job done. And then we'll get it done at that particular point.
Yeah. And I asked that question. The answer was perfect. And that's the reason why I asked that question, because a lot of folks don't understand that you guys are basically front loading the cost of things until you can recoup your money. And like you said, if you're doing a large project like that, you're putting up a lot of money initially to get things going to that certain point where you can call in the consultant to check things off and then get you guys paid. And then, you're doing it again. And then you really, of course, don't get your final check until the end, where you really get your actual payment for it.
There's a 10% holdback on all our money, right? That's to protect the borrower and the work in construction, right? So even at the end, like let's say that we're lucky and we work on a 15 or 20% margin, right? That's if we're lucky, right? 10% is half our profits. We have to collect that at the end. It could be a couple months after everything is done, because I can't close a permit because I'm waiting for a part to come from China to finish this permit. And then, but we manage the process. We have systems in place, and then we wait to get paid, and we work with the client, and we're not knocking on their door asking for this money. We understand that they're waiting for the money, like us, and it's part of the process for sure.
Indeed. So if someone says, okay, hey, I'd like to check out some of the projects that you guys have done already, is there a way for them to see before and after, some video maybe, or anything like that?
So we have a pretty decent website, which is www.gnconstruction.net. It gives us a glimpse both of our commercial projects and residential projects. It's obviously not every single project that we do, but a selected bunch. We work in a wide range of types of finishes, meaning we work in some really high-end homes with some high-end finishes, and we work on starter homes. So it's a wide range of finish material, but the process is all a high-end process that we approach our work with. We don't cut corners. We buy the best material we buy. We waterproof to the fullest. We do all of these things that, I want to sleep well at night. So if you're trying to cut costs and relate it to stuff that makes the biggest difference, to people make the biggest difference is how the tile looks or the paint color looks, right? Those are very small parts of the renovation. How the bathroom is built and what material is being used behind the tile, what thinset is being used in conjunction with what tile is being glued, and what do the fasteners look like. That's the stuff that makes things last the longest. And a lot of times we find contractors not using the right material. The reason we know they don't use the right material because they're advertising their great jobs on social media, clearly not using the right material. They're not doing it on purpose, but nobody's ever trained them to do it correctly. So, replacing tile is one thing, but dealing with a leaking shower or a tub or leaking floor or anything like that, those are more complicated things. And anybody that's working in construction tells you that they have zero experience with that stuff is lying to you. We work with human beings and we have some highly skilled labor, but people make mistakes. Another part that separates us, I believe, with a lot of other contractors, our accountability. We're accessible, we're brick and mortar. If there are issues, we work through them. We're on your team. We're not perfect, but we definitely win more than we lose. So
I love the transparency. That's great. That's great. It's a great sign of great character. And, perfection doesn't exist. So those who stick their chests out and say, hey, I'm Mr. Perfect.
Yeah. It's interesting because we've taken over a lot of 2 or 3K loans over the years. We're called when things blow up between the contractor and the client to pick up the pieces. That's why it's really important for the borrowers out there to make sure that they understand the financial stability of the people they're doing business with, right? That they ask a lot of questions, that they review the language in the contract really close to the description of what they're getting, because that's the contract. I mean, remodeling is a moving piece. There's a 10% contingency or an average of put into every loan for things that come up as a result of a remodeling project. You want to understand that the majority of what you're trying to do is in that main bucket, the main 2 or 3K loan. That 10% contingency, if there's a big problem or something that was completely missed, is not often enough to cover what needs to be covered, and you have to come up with that to do it. So it's important to make sure you ask a lot of questions and you understand the language, what is covered with the language. Don't believe things should just be included in a line item because it makes sense for you to be included in a line item. So take your time to break down language and what material is being provided, who's providing it, what are the specs, what are the species, and so on and so forth. That's really important stuff.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is, Guy. So if someone said, okay, well, look, I like what I heard. I like the pictures on gnconstruction.net. But do you have any past 2 or 3K clients that I can speak to and just, find out how their flow was with you, that they enjoyed the process and all that good stuff?
Absolutely. We're strong in the reference department. I want to know that you want to move forward with us, that we're not one of 5 contractors. You want to speak to 5 different contractors or clients, right? I want to know that, us being hired is hinging on talking to some previous clients. And then you just have to tell me how many clients you want to talk to, right? So, but I try not to disturb my clients and just have them give, opinions about working with us to jobs that I'm just, in pursuit of, right? Everybody's busy and it's a nuisance for everybody to get on the phone and speak to your potential client or our potential future client, but we absolutely bring references to the table. It's not a problem. We're also on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We live in a world where everybody has a lot of information on you, so. Indeed.
All right, Guy. Well, that wraps up the 10 questions. Pretty harmless. You shared some great information about what you guys do, about the process in general, and things that folks need to look out for and expect. But tell me about you. How did you get involved in construction?
I worked in the insurance world for 10 years out of college.
Okay.
And we did high-end estate planning, wealth preservation. I was in the space of insurance called the advanced markets. That was great when we had a huge real estate boom and a lot of people made a lot of money very quickly. But then when that money ended and the crash came, everybody forgot the type of investment plans they got into. They wanted to get money out of their life insurance and things like this, things that are not really possible. So I was just dealing with a lot of fires, and I didn't really enjoy the space that much at that particular point. And I said, this is a good time for me to transition to something I really see myself doing in perpetuity. So I decided to start Flipside 3 Investments and GN Construction. I had leveraged a relationship that I have with a good friend of mine who became a pretty big REO broker, real estate owned property. That's the property that basically ends up being foreclosed and things along those lines. So I set up GN Construction as a preservation business to offer like lock changes and lawn cuts and things like this, with no background in construction whatsoever. Literally jumped in. The first couple of months, I even did the trash outs myself, learned to change the locks myself and things like that. But that wasn't really what I should be doing with my time or what I figured I should do with my time. So I hired some people that can do it a heck of a lot better than I can. And I just drove the ship, which is something I feel more comfortable doing. So we did about 50 houses in 3 years. And, that translates into full scale renovations of 50 homes. You learn a lot about homes in that particular situation. And then we also provided a lot of service to banks. The banks went from not touching the homes to doing minor renovations to doing major renovations. That whole industry became an industry, right? There was no intermediaries. The agent worked directly with the bank. The bank never owned any properties or managed any properties. Then you saw intermediaries come in that essentially manage the portfolio that the bank has. You saw other institutions coming in and buying bad debt, right? Hedge funds and things like this. All of a sudden, owned 100 homes across the country, didn't know what to do with. So it was a whole industry that was born, and we were in that part of the industry. And then I started selling our services more. I focused more on selling our services. And after 2015, we had a really bad winter here in Connecticut. I had like 10 properties going at the time. So everything I made, I lost in interest that I owed or things that I had to fix. I figured I have to diversify a bit. So I started selling our services, and, remodeling is complicated. You're dealing with customers and their own expectations and desires, and you got labor to manage and things along those lines. But, I'm a systems guy. So over the years, we've come up with systems. We invested in some pretty sophisticated software that does the initial proposals for the sales side of the equation, and it becomes a project management software where a lot of information is fed into that system and gives a lot more information for people on the field. So everybody has access to information that's cloud-based, so less things fall through the cracks. And now we have infrastructure, office manager, construction manager, project coordinator. So you're buying the systems, right? You're buying my experience. And then construction still sucks. There's no other way to describe it, right? So it's still tough, but at least our guys are there to try to keep as clean of a working space as possible. We communicate with the clients on a daily basis. We let them know we're coming to their home as opposed to just knocking on their door at any hour. So we try to ease the process to the best of our ability. And what I like the most is when my clients reach out to me and say, hey, we miss your guys. It's weird not having your guys in the home. We've seen you for 3 months every morning in all different, they've seen all kinds of sides of us, right? But that's the good stuff, right? When they care about, our guys and our guys care about their kids. And I've come to job sites where, my guys are on the clock, but they're, the kid has his own tool belt on and, he's hammering a nail into a random piece of 2x4. And I love that stuff, right? I got 2 kids of my own. And then that's the stuff that matters. That's the memory you're building with that kid. And, you can't put a value on that. So we're a relationship-based operation. We're loyal to our vendors, our suppliers, and to our clients.
I love it, man. So started out in property preservation. So the transition from insurance to that, was it more so because you saw opportunity, or at some point in time back in the past, had you ever thought about, real estate being a possibility for you?
That's a really good question. So yes, while I was working as an executive in the insurance world, I flipped a couple of properties because the real estate was booming. and I was a general contractor for those flips. When I brought the subcontractors in, I got my feet wet. So I knew I wanted to get back into that space. I enjoyed doing that better. There's really almost no satisfaction that is similar to taking something that is broken and fixing it. Our job is simple because we could take properties that look like the property above me here, and then turn it into this property right there, right? So we have the ability to show you a before and after. It's really easy to present my work on a computer or an interview or whatever, because I can show you before and after. There's a lot of satisfaction that comes with it. So I enjoyed it, and then we built from there. So it's sort of I'm the kind of guy that just goes where life takes me, and this is where life has brought me, and here's where we are.
Good deal, good deal. And what you said about systems is extremely important. The acronym people use for systems: save yourself time, energy, and money. And having those things in place, not only as a business, of course, makes things much more fluid for you guys, but then as far as the client experience, they I think appreciate that more versus someone who's like, oh, where did I leave? Okay, hold on, let me find it. It's oh, here we go. Oh no, that's not it. So having things in order can create a seamless, worry-free process. And I know that's something that people will and can appreciate, whether they know it or have experienced it or not. But once they do, they say, okay, I like that much better than that.
And it goes back to that point I made about, a lot of times with a 2 or 3K, you have a very specific budget. You have a certain amount of money that is afforded by the loan to fix certain things. It may not be enough. You may have this vision to put the next $30,000 or $40,000 into this home, into a new kitchen or a bathroom. But the reality is your siding is falling apart, or they got issues in the basement and they require work to get done, and you're not happy about it. And you're trying to figure out a way to squeeze in something that you really want, that is more of a want than a need, right? And then you find yourself looking for contractors that will take this type of work on. And if they haven't done it before, they don't have the experience, they're giving you a handwritten estimate. They're doing all of these things that are just like, that means they don't keep books, right? That means that everything is on a spreadsheet, but it's not even on a computer. It's on a graph piece of paper and a notebook, right? It's just going to be very hard for them to manage this project. They're not going to be used to waiting for money to come in. They're used for you giving them a deposit for them to start a project. And every time they finish something, for you to give them more and more and more, right? It's just not going to work out. So while you're out there looking for the best deal, 2 or 3Ks generally should not be presenting you the best rehab deal you can find. It just presents you with a really good opportunity to rehab or move into the home of your choice in a very cost-effective basis, rolled into a mortgage, managed by a bank and a HUD consultant, that the work is getting done correctly and it's being inspected and all of that good stuff. So, it's not a cheap proposition.
Yeah, the consultants is who I call your small forward, that swing man between the client and the contractor, and then the bank and the contractor. They're basically like training wheels for somebody who may be thinking about learning real estate investing. So this is a safe way for you to get into the space, not have as much skin in the game, and really just learn. Because you're going to learn a lot if you want to. If you want to, well, first of all, it's your house, so you should be engaged, you should be involved. But that process of, okay, what's next? Okay, MEPs. Okay, what's after that? Okay, what's before that? So yeah, it's a great loan. In my opinion, I'm a little biased, but I think it's a really great loan. I think it's very underutilized because people just don't know about it. The government is not very good at marketing, so which is in part why I started this platform, because I wanted to get the information out there, let folks know like this thing is been around since before the 70s. Used the way it is since the 70s, restructured a few times since then, but like it's a great product and it can be used pretty much anywhere. Now, it doesn't necessarily make sense to use it everywhere, but it's a wonderful loan. So have you seen many people try to do conversions from singles to multis, duplex, tris, or quads with the loan?
I haven't. I've had recently people looking to do like construction loans for those ADUs I spoke about earlier, right?
Okay.
But I believe we have done these on a multifamily, right?
Okay.
2 or 3 unit dwelling,
Okay.
where it's owner occupied and they qualify for the 2 or 3K as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, not to convert their existing space to a 2-family. But that's an interesting avenue and idea. And you're right. There's zoning that comes into that, and some homes work really well with it. And I assume that some 2-families, especially in my area, can very easily fall into that equation when you want to add a 3rd family. A lot of times the 2nd and 3rd floor share a few bedrooms, and it's an easier transition. But there are some rules that come into building with respect to egress and things like this that have to be considered. And but yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea to try to create income producing properties out of your residential property. That's a great way to set yourself up for future success. Yeah.
And I think I don't know how the inventory is there, but for the most part, from folks I've spoken to, it's pretty tight across the board, countrywide.
I mean, the houses don't last very long on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple offers on every transaction. We're seeing things like no contingencies and no inspection and no this, things that are just like crazy to hear, right? Like you're buying this home, you can have an inspection, but you can't change the price, right? So it's definitely a seller's market.
Yes.
But that also shows people looking for deals, and they're looking for foreclosures, they're looking for major rehabs, because again, the rehabs are worth more. The houses are worth on the back end more. So, while the building material has gone up dramatically, so have prices of homes. There's an arbitrage there.
Mm-hmm.
It's costing you more to do it, but what you're producing is valued more.
Yep.
So,
and you're selecting it. Like I get to choose what backsplash I want, what type of toilet, all of that
process is overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot of decisions you have to make to bring a space together. And we try to help you with that. We have some systems in place for it, but there's a lot of decisions you have to make. And, there's always budgets that push up against those decisions. But we're very fortunate. We built some really good relationships with some nice showrooms in the area. We're A to Z shop. You come to us, we'll tell you where to go buy whatever you need. We'll show you who to talk to. We'll manage that process. It's a lot of logistics, and we're going to charge you to do so. But the reality is that, it'll help you through the process. You don't have to Google anything. We'll tell you where to go. We will bring you in front of live people. And then when there's an issue with something that you buy, those people are going to treat it differently. They're going to jump on the situation and be very proactive in trying to solve problems and come up with solutions, which is an important part of the construction process.
Yeah, versus having to call that 800 number and listen to the music, the lovely elevator music for 30 minutes before someone picks up.
This item on Amazon. Well, great. If something goes wrong with the product, it's not like you're buying something that you're going to use in your backyard. You're buying a faucet. You want to be able to call somebody or go somewhere and say, I need this replaced. Get on call and wait on somebody to talk to you, and then being shipped at a different level of support. It's a pain in the butt, So
yeah, I think that's a great touch. I was going to ask that as far as like you guys systems, as far as for helping people who don't necessarily have the vision of what they want for their home. Like they have a rough idea maybe, but a lot of times, I mean, that's why the new construction has those showrooms. So it have it prepackaged for you. Like here's a color sample. Which one, pick this. Because a lot of times people just really can't see it. Do you guys do or have any type of design software as far as, reconfiguring rooms, spaces, things of that nature?
We're a design build operation. So I have a full-time graphic designer that essentially is the operator of a software that we use to bring visions to life. And you can retain our services to do so. A lot of times when you're reconfiguring spaces, you don't really know what it's going to look like or what the angle is going to look like. So our software can bring 3D modeling into the equation and things along those lines. And we have a junior interior designer on staff, and
Okay.
will help you with color selections and paint and tile selections and things like that. And again, these are services that we offer, but we're a one-stop shop. So you can deal with me for any of your issues or any of my people for any of your needs. And you'd only have to call one number to reach all of us. So that's a benefit that you get. And, after you general contract your own remodeling project once or twice, probably don't want to do it again unless you're going to make a living doing it.
Right.
Getting the electrician there right after the plumber, and the plumber there right before the drywall guy, and the drywall guy right before the painters and tapers, and then those are all 1,000 phone calls to get all those guys together. That's a huge headache. So you pay for a service, like you pay for a lawyer to navigate through paperwork and forms and things like this, or you pay for an accountant to help you file your taxes. You pay for a reputable general contractor that can bring those services to the table. And then it's still going to be a long process, but you're going to be making decisions. You're going to be presented with solutions, and you're going to make choices based on the solutions you were presented with. You're not going to be wrecking your brain to find and solve problems. We'll take that burden off of you, and we're very solution oriented. So when I call my client about a problem that arose, I also try to present them with 2 or 3 options to solve that problem and let them make a decision as to what they want to do. And it's not for us to try to make more money on this deal. There are ways to reduce the cost of problems, and some are unavoidable. So we will cross that bridge with you.
Peace of mind is what you're paying for. You're paying for peace of mind.
That's right.
That's a priceless thing. Priceless. So what's next for you? Are you looking to, get deeper into the various aspects of construction? Like I said, I know you're doing commercial, you're doing 203Ks, you're doing construction loans as well, 800,000 additions, things of that nature. Staying on that path, looking to add on? Not sure.
It's a good question. It's a tough question to answer. I'm a fairly ambitious guy, and I like to capitalize on opportunity. We are working on becoming a household name in our area. That's going to take some time, but we're certainly one of the larger contractors, residential contractors in the greater Hartford area. I don't think by any stretch of imagination we're the largest, but we can certainly compete with other general contractors that deal with residential work. We're working on building our commercial side of the equation back up, or more up, I should say, by getting involved in larger projects in that space. So, we would like to, and then we're building our design side of the operation. That's the goal for 2022, by bringing in the software operator and having access now to a junior interior designer and things like this, where we become really a one-stop shop for you guys or for our customers in general. So that's what the future is going to bring. I always look for projects for myself, new flips, buy and holds, things like that. They're fewer and far between, but a personal goal of mine is to build that, to continue to build that. So that's where I'm at.
Good deal. Good deal, man. Well, Guy, look, I appreciate your time. We've been on, it looks like about 50 minutes or so, give or take. So for the people who are looking for you, where can they find you? Website, phone number, social media, whatever you have to share, please let us know.
So www.gnconstruction.net is our main website. And our social media ticker is our @GNConstruction LLC, @GNConstruction LLC. That's for Instagram and Facebook. And then all our other contact information, emails and phone numbers are found on those avenues. So if you just go to those places, you'll see our Instagram and Facebook are pretty active. We post multiple times a week, and our website is pretty updated. So definitely give that a check. On our website, we have a couple of visualizers. So if you want to see what your space could look like, what your flooring options could be, design your kitchen a little bit. I mean, they're not the end all be all for design purposes, but they certainly get you an inspiration and start messing around with some finishes and things like that. You can definitely spend some time on that and look around. The flooring visualizer gives you the ability of taking a picture of your room and then messing around with a different flooring to see how that would look and things like that. So yeah, definitely check our website out.
Nice, nice. That's
I
again
appreciate your
helping
time
folks.
very much, and it's a good space for you to work in. It's a lot of opportunity in this space, and you're right. Not enough people do it, and a lot of agents are scared to do it because there's a lot more paperwork, and a lot of banks don't do it because they don't have the infrastructure. So make sure you find a bank that does this and have a department that deals with this and systems to pay the contractors out. And then it's not a bad idea to ask the contractor for recommendations for HUD inspectors that they worked with. They already have a rapport and a relationship with. It helps speed the process up. It helps to make a much better transaction. These are human beings behind all of these positions, and everybody sort of has their own way of doing certain things. So it's good to have a relationship in these type of spaces to help the process be more manageable.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well,
So
thank you for
again,
your
guys,
time.
no,
Really
thank
appreciate
you. And look forward to hopefully sending some people your way who are trying to get some work done there in the Connecticut, Massachusetts area.
Awesome. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Have a nice one.
Do the same. That's all we
Bye-bye.
got for this episode, and see you guys next 203K Tuesday.
All right. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell. Thanks for watching.
That's high level stuff. So that's a good deal.